Gaga Grumps says welcome gremlins to the game grotto. Take a seat, grab your daily heart, claim your points and prepare to play.
Now tap that screen. Gang gremlins on the scene. Welcome gremlins to the gang grotto. Welcome gremlins.
Grumps says welcome one and all.
Welcome in, guys. Settle down.
We would be
Grab your
honored
heartbeat.
if you would join
Share
us.
us round. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap it. Tap that screen. Yeah, tap it, tap it. It's your warm-up routine. Gang gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says welcome gremlins to the game grotto.
Gang gremlins
Take a
on the
seat,
scene.
grab your daily heart, claim your points and prepare
Gang
to play.
gremlins on the scene. Gang gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap it. Tap that screen. Yeah, tap it, tap it. Gang gremlins come and let's go. Now tap that screen.
Gaga Grumps says treasure box up if you need a coin to your daily heart.
Let's see those team stickers flow. Gang gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen. Gang gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says who is ready to play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Nope.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. A.
Emily says apple.
Grumps says at Benji 1234 no plural in Wordle.
Gaga Grumps says
Benjamin is
Emily.
in the house.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers
Gaga
on
Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe next.
hearts be flying like a thon.
Grumps says at Bromsey Rovers Football Club.
Gaga Grumps says yes dancing queen.
Grumps says at Jake Hyatt.
Gaga Grumps says or a blue one at least.
Dancing Queen says that Gaga and Grumps okay.
Crystal says good morning.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Grump says at Crystal good morning.
Gaga Grumps says 19J in the house, your word starting with A please.
Thanks for the follow.
19Juice97 says alive.
Gaga Grumps says Crystal in the house.
If you would join us.
Grump says at Caradog never.
Gaga Grumps says alive you got.
Thanks for the follow.
Gaga Grumps says nice start. We have a green AI and E and none of them wanted to live next door to each other. Gaga Grumps says I have resting long face Henry lol.
Kim Hannafan says abide.
Steph says hi.
A Althea says aside.
We would be honored if you would
Gaga
join
Grumps
us.
says abide fits.
Grump says at Steph higher.
We would be honored if you would join
Althea
us.
says aside.
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily
We
heart
would be
19J.
honored if you would join us.
Thanks for
Gaga
the
Grumps
follow.
says Steph in the house thanks for doing your daily heart.
Milargaming says Heya.
Thanks for the follow.
Grump says at Millar Gaming
Gaga.
Heya.
Milargaming says wood.
Explode 'em on her face, she's in a happy place. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says and we're starting with fireworks.
Within 3, so gifts explode with glee. Fireworks for Gaga.
Kim Hannafan says Yami.
Emojis make her happy. As in her face they slappy. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Wordle in 3. Let's see those fireworks in the chat.
Fireworks for Gaga. From a single rose to
Milargaming says into.
anything will be okay. If you can, that's okay. Smileys in chat still win the day.
Gaga Grumps says I am non-speaking. There is a pinned post on my page explaining.
Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga.
Grump says at Barry McCree Heya.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Emily says gotta go. Have a great rest of your day.
Steph says Atsuri loves Bon Jovi. There's a pinned video on her profile explaining X.
Good game.
Milorgaming says that Suri loves Bon Jovi. She is non-speaking.
Luca Mihalik says, at Suri loves Bon Jovi. Did you not look at the message when you joined?
Grump says it ran because others kept tapping. Grump says it Emily see you later.
Gaga Grumps says MLLAR in the house thanks for doing your daily heart. Gaga Grumps says thanks for popping in Emily. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says Luca in the house thanks for doing your daily heart. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. F.
Grump says it Lily Jellyfish no.
Thanks for the follow.
Gaga Grumps says cause he's Grumps lol. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Kim Hannafan says frame.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thumb, tap and don't stop, like a thumb.
Grump says it XX
Who will
Ability.
be crowned like a thumb, gremlin renowned like a thumb, fingers on fire like a thumb, gremlins don't tire like a thumb, hearts be flying.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Grump says it XX Ability no. Stop spamming.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with F please Kishton. Gaga Grumps says if you don't know to not come into a chat spamming, there's no hope for you. Cats for Life says 300. Gaga Grumps says fried you got.
Cats for Life says untrue.
Gaga Grumps says that's why Grumps pushes your buttons.
Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow.
Grumps says at Lily Jellyfish bye.
Gaga Grumps says a green I moved into number 3 Wordle Street.
Crystal says quill.
Gaga Grumps says blink fits.
Steph says sting.
Gaga Grumps says N moved in next door to I. Gaga Grumps says sting works.
Grumps says could be worse, I could be Sting.
Steph says shint.
Crystal says shint.
Gaga Grumps says okay so we end in T.
Steph says Osaint is good.
Crystal says saint.
Grumps says at Elise X no plural in Wordle.
Thanks for the follow.
Gaga Grumps says splint is 6. I don't think shint is a word. Gaga Grumps says but Sant is a good shout.
It's playtime! Gaga is in the box!
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Grumps is on the buttons! Don't let him push yours! Are you ready to play? Let those stickers fly! Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga,
Gaga Grumps says I am non-speaking. There is a pinned post on my page explaining.
let's go! Gremlins, let's go! Team Gaga, Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Gremlins, let's go! Gremlins, let's go! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says do the do for Gaga. Share the live chat for chat and shower her with roses and GGs. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Good game. 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 Good game.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart, Crystal. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A, D. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon, tap and don't stop, like a thon, who will be crowned like a thon, gremlin renowned like a thon, fingers on fire like
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Thanks for the follow!
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with D, please, Grumps.
Grumps says dingo.
Gaga Grumps says I am non-speaking. There is a pinned post on my page explaining.
Crystal says wow, close by to.
Gaga Grumps says dingo's got my baby you got. Gaga Grumps says yellow N and O in need of homes.
Grumps says at OLIVER you first.
The best gooner says Hanu.
Gaga Grumps says did you all check out the new stickers? Gaga Grumps says we have a new all green. Crystal says that Gaga and Grumps, yes ma'am. Love it. Gaga grumps says honey doesn't fit. Gaga grumps says not fits. Bold choice with 2 doubles lol.
Grumps says it Neela needs NO.
Steph says crown.
Gaga grumps says O moved into number 3 and we added a homeless C. Gaga grumps says crown works.
Crystal says crown.
Steph says clone.
Gaga grumps says C moved into number 1 and N must live in 4.
Crystal says clone.
Gaga grumps says clone is in the grid.
Good game.
Gaga grumps says GG gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Good game. 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 Good game.
Gaga grumps says do you do the daily Wordle? I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results. Gaga grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next vid.
The best gooner says at Lexi_Spawn pin video X.
Only in 3, a pretty sky. A Wordle with Gaga. A Wordle with Gaga. Da da da. A Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga grumps says let's play Wordle.
Grumps says it Neela, calm down.
Gaga grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Grumps says it Bailey never. Grumps says it Bailey no, not happening, ever.
Gaga Grumps says no need for sorries. Im good XX. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon, tap and don't stop, like a thon, who will be crowned like a thon, gremlin renowned.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Grumps says that more blessings to come.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Everybody get down! It's a freaking sniper! Ha ha! Ha ha!
Gaga Grumps says Lexi won the race, and in comes Crystal and steals the crown.
Grumps says at Crystal you want snipe, A.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with S please Crystal. Gaga Grumps says sorry Lexi, your crown was sniped.
Lil Creative 1 says snipe.lol.
Crystal says snipe.
Gaga Grumps says haha snipe you got.
Crystal says at Grumps, yes, sir.
Grumps says adding insult to injury, like your style.
Gaga Grumps says creative in the house.
Well, Creative 1 says here.
Gaga Grumps says yellow N and I in need of homes.
Steph says ninja.
Grumps says oh dear, the fastest finger in the West has joined, give up all hope.
Well, Creative 1 says at Lexi_spam, she set the crown to knock you off.
Crystal says at Lexi_spam sniper with crown sorry dear.
Gaga Grumps says she sent the sniping crown gift Lexi. It's all explained during the race.
Grumps says at JACK enlighten us.
Gaga Grumps says Ninja fits.
Creative One says at LexI_spam, it's like checkers.
Gaga Grumps says we added a homeless A.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Precious says hi everyone.
O Creative One says again.
Gaga Grumps says Precious in the house, thanks for doing your daily heart.
Thanks for the follow.
Grumps says it more blessing to come have a lie down then.
Benjamin is in the house.
Crystal says mania.
Thanks for the follow.
Grumps says it Precious_higher.
Gaga Grumps says Ryan in the house and he's still wearing pink Speedos.
Crystal says at Crystal Nope No in third.
Precious says at Grumps hi.
Gaga Grumps says Brainworks. Gaga Grumps says we end in rain.
Steph says at
Thanks
Sad
for the
Trading stop
follow.
spamming, she can read perfectly fine.
Precious says grain.
Well, Creative One says grain.
Grumps says at Sad Trading cease the spamming.
Thanks for the follow.
Creative One says drain.
Crystal says train wreck.
Creative One says train.
Precious says train grain drain.
Crystal says digit.
Gaga Grumps says I see 3 options for 3 guesses, no filter needed.
Precious says digit filler.
Gaga Grumps says train leaving the station first.
Precious says Adibby edit stop spamming.
Crystal says crane.
PH7 says always go with your gut instinct.
Steph says it don't be impatient.
Good game.
Precious says guys have some manners please, and TH host is not a manner bro. Gaga Grumps says lol my gut is an unreliable narrator.
Grumps says Cooper time.
Level up.
It's Cooper.
Gaga Grumps says but besides that it's time to wiggle.
It's Cooper.
Precious says it Crystal.
Steph says the School of Rudeness is out today.
He's a corgi, don't you know? His name is Cooper, watch him go. Wiggle butt, just a little mutt with a wiggle butt. Gremlins say what, with a wiggle butt.
says that Steph trusts me, they have no manners.
Grumps says at Theo you what?
Cute and fluffy puffball tail, Cooper, Cooper, we do, yeah. Wiggle butt, wiggle, wiggle butt. Brenda say what, with a wiggle butt.
Thanks for the follow.
Gaga Grumps says, and I heard a level up.
Precious says W Grumps and Crystal.
Grumps says at Archie Boy Sunderland a horde.
It's a LLL level up.
Gaga Grumps says a quick segue to this. Level up in the room for Crystal.
Level up. Level up.
Steph says at Pink Speederbird.
Crystal says at Pink Speederbird, yes.
Didn't solve Wordle solo though. Support came in, guess it's snap.
We would be honored if you would join us.
New fandom level streak still alive. Wordle solved.
Grumps says at PINKSPEDOEDR case, or it didn't happen.
Same chat, same brilliant brains. Remember that.
Grumps says at D tilde V tilde P welcome back.
Gaga Grumps says, and now normal service is resumed. If you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Crystal says gotta go now. See you all later.
Grumps says at Crystal have a great day.
Gaga Grumps says have a great day Crystal. Cooper is appreciated as always.
Steph says Gaga you're fitter than me with all this dancing, you would be needing a nap now lol.
Thanks for the follow.
Crystal says at Grumps UT oh mister.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle.
Steph says I asterisk.
Crystal says at Gaga and Grumps you to ma'am.
Gaga Grumps says I have my nap before live and I'm already in bed lol. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Crystal says at Pink Speederbird to tie.
Gaga Grumps says must find an ad-free Wordle Unlimited. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. P.
Steph says wordrama.io is at FreeX.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Well, Creative One says install ad blocker. That should take care of it.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thun. Tap and don't stop, like a thun. Who will be crowned like a thun? Gremlin renowned like a thun. Fingers on fire like a thun. Gremlins don't tire.
Gaga Grumps says good idea creative.
Hearts be flying like a thun. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Oscar says surprised Precious didn't snipe lol.
The Creative One says Ryan for the win.
Well, Creative One says I'm back in like jail.
Gaga Grumps says PH7 in the house, thanks for doing your daily heart.
Precious says at Oscar, still time for that.
Gaga Grumps says Oscar in the house.
Well, Creative One says purse. Oscar says at LO Creative One would like to repost comments lol.
Gaga Grumps says are you being filtered, Ryan?
Grumps says at Dancing Queen no plurals in Wordle and it's Ryan's turn. Stop spamming.
Gaga Grumps says thank you, Sapphire. Gaga Grumps says Pinky you got.
Grumps says at Jaden Clark no, never.
Gaga Grumps says N moved into number 3 and I needs a home. Gaga Grumps says because it's a bad starting word, Jaden. Gaga Grumps says I like Ionic.
Grumps says tonic.
Creative 1 says conic.
Precious says tonic, sonic, conic.
LL Creative 1 says civic. Gaga Grumps says tonic to see as Ms. LHYN would have had it in 2.
Precious says at LL Creative 1, where did you find that word?
Fireworks for Gaga. It's a performance.
Gaga Grumps says fireworks for Ms. LHYN.
She's in a happy place. Fireworks for Gaga. Wordle within 3, so gifts explode with glee. Fireworks for Gaga. Emojis make her happy.
Good game.
As in her face they slappy. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Wordle in 3. Let's see those fireworks in the chat.
From a single rose to a whole bouquet, anything will be okay. If you can, that's okay. Smileys in chat still win the day. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Grumps says at Billy Bob Jahai.
Gaga Grumps says I don't know what spelly is. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Precious says we are playing spelly the word.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says lol Precious. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says audio and Adu are statistically the worst performing starters, adding an extra guess to your game. Gaga Grumps says because of the vowel imbalance.
Grumps says at P3R no.
Thanks for the follow.
Grumps says nobody asked for a why.
Gaga Grumps says most traps are lost because you don't have consonants.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with a Y.
Grumps says it, did you misbehave?
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says Seren in the house incognito, thanks for doing your daily heart. Seren says at Grumps, no, I got logged out, it's asking for a passkey which I don't have. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Grumps says it's always annoying when that happens.
Gaga Grumps says winner of race, or sniper, chooses first word A.
Grumps says at Ellie hand with index finger and thumb crossed better tap and win the race then.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Precious says Ryan needs to be on a tap ban.
Saren says at Precious_, he's got a tapper for sure.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with Y, please Ryan.
Grumps says at Precious_, I bet he practices 24/7.
Precious says at.
Well, creative one says yeast.
Gaga Grumps says we could tie his hands up with those damn speedos.
Oscar says him in like jail, lol.
Saren says at Pink Speeder, but no, it's all fun. Precious says let me recharge and get some crowns thrown out, sick of it.
Gaga Grumps says love ya Ryan. You encourage snipers, lol.
Grumps says at PINKSPEDOBDR settle down, petal.
Summer says hello, hello.
Gaga Grumps says I think we tried Yankee before and it wasn't valid, but let's give it a spin.
Grumps says at Ginger Ninja Heya. Grumps says at Summer good day.
Gaga Grumps says yep, computer says no.
Summer says at Grumps hello.
Grumps says at PINKSPEDOBDR flirt.
Benjamin is in the house.
Well, creative one says yeast.
Gaga grumps, says Summer in the house.
Grumps says that Suri loves Bon Jovi. That's not how it works.
Summer says at Gaga and Grumps, hello, hello.
Shelby says hey.
Gaga grumps, says need a new word, Ryan. Gaga grumps, says Shelby in the house.
Precious says auto clicker been incoming.
Gaga grumps, says yield you got.
Grumps says that Suri loves Bon Jovi. It's explained every round. Just watch.
Precious says my poor thumbs agree.
Shelby says Donnie.
Oscar says Hydra.
Gaga grumps, says yellow Y and D in need of homes.
Summer says caddy.
Gaga grumps, says shall we yield to the dust.
Summer says my heart me is LVL for now.
Creative1 says at Precious _ am using my hands too.
Gaga grumps, says Y moved into number 5D still homeless.
Thanks for the follow.
Oscar says caddy, but I don't want to repeat yet.
Level up.
Luca Mihalik says muddy.
Gaga grumps, says did you just level up Summer?
Grumps says it's Summer.
Precious says at Pink Speeder it's all banter, don't take it personal.
Summer says at Gaga and Grumps at it I think. So yeah.
Gaga grumps, says yes caddy still fits.
Shelby says daddy.
Gaga grumps, says level up coming at end of game.
Shelby says a jack of muddy DOESNT fit.
Luca Mihalik says candy.
Saren says Patty.
Pink Speedo BDR says daddy.
Shelby says I said IT.
Gaga grumps, says we end in Addy.
Summer says Patty.
Saren says not daddy, guys.
Shelby says pawns for filler.
Oscar says tribe D.
Creative1 says fatty.
Saren says that Suri loves Bon Jovi. Look at the yellow D in second line.
Shelby says Pons filler.
Grumps says next one spamming daddy gets muted.
Gaga grumps, says are we in the paddy fields?
Shelby says woo.
Share us round. Now tap that screen, tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. It's your
Gaga grumps, says GG gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat. Gaga Grumps says welcome gremlins to the game grotto. Take a seat, grab your daily heart, claim your points and prepare to play.
Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap it, tap that screen. Yeah, tap it, tap it.
Summer says yesterday I had the song stuck in my head. I was making food and I was JS singing it all.
Tap that screen. Yeah, tap it, tap it. Let's see those team stickers flow.
Grump says 5 nudes. People really need to learn to
Game
read.
gremlins on the scene. Oh, oh. Now tap that screen. Oh, oh, oh.
Gaga Grumps says treasure box up if you need a coin for your daily heart.
Now tap that screen.
Summer says it grumps.
Now tap that screen.
Gaga Grumps says level up coming after the welcome song.
Gang gremlins on the scene. It's a LLL level up.
Gaga Grumps says a quick segue to this. Level up in the room for summer.
Another height. If support was letters, you'd spell wow. This level's ours. Come out with me now. Green, green. Look at
Grump
that
says at summer shall we release it officially? You reckon?
support came in. Yes, it's snap. Level up.
Grump says at Rosie hey.
Level up.
New fandom level streak still alive. Wordle solved and you help me thrive. Tomorrow we guess same time, same chat, same brilliant brains. Remember that.
Summer says it grumps. ID listened to it all the time. It would be stuck in my head all the time.
Summer says at Liverpool for life 9-7 forever 20 well done YK the year.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for leveling up summer.
Summer says at Liverpool for life 9-7 forever 20. You're so clever.
Grump says at Liverpool for life 97, forever 20. Since when? Big, if true.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Pink Speedo BDR says hi.
Gaga Grumps says how are we at the end of March already?
Shelby says hey sorry I'm back, my boyfriend's nephew is coming and so had to clean a bit.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Summer says I didn't know it was 2026 Wick.
Grump says at PINKSPEEDOBDR welcome back.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart summer.
Grump says at SHELBI, should have made the nephew clean.
Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Grump says at VIKOO Heya. Summer says I want to argue with someone I'm in the mood to get myself into an argument.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. S again.
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says D in the house thanks for doing your daily heart. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Grumps says it's summer the time of the month again, is it?
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Summer says at Grumps not yet.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says TF for menopause I say.
Grumps says treasure box is open.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with S please Ryan.
Thanks for the follow!
Pink Speedo BDR says shaky.
Gaga Grumps says shaky you got.
Pink Speedo BDR says Patty.
Thanks for the follow!
Gaga Grumps says Y moved into number 5 Wordle Street and A needs a home.
Thanks for the follow!
Gaga Grumps says party because we have to.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says A moved into number 2.
Benjamin is in the house.
PH7 says the fun bag.
Gaga Grumps says Rehan in the house thanks for doing your daily heart.
PH7 says F, Annie.
DVP says manly.
Gaga Grumps says no change.
Well, Creative One says dandy.
TH7 says gaudy.
Gaga Grumps says no N.
PH7 says body.
R3 Hen says at LL Creative One no N.
Gaga Grumps says Gaudy works. LL Creative One says it's so laggy for me.
Good game.
It's playtime!
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Grumps is on the buttons! Don't let him push yours! Are you ready to play? Let those stickers fly!
Good game.
Gaga Grumps says I don't say anything, James. Gaga Grumps says dooba-doo for Gaga. Share the live chat for chat and shower her with roses and GGs. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next list.
Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. I.
Grumps says it too long and a plural, double no.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon, tap and don't stop, like a thon, who will be crowned like a thon. Gremlin
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Gremlins don't tire like a thon, hearts beat flying like a thon. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Grumps says it Isabella no, never.
Thanks for the follow.
Good game. Good game.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with I please Ryan.
Grumps says it Isabella terrible starter. Grumps says it Sunshine Katie welcome back.
Creative One says Igloo.
Pink Speedo BDR says Igloo.
Gaga Grumps says audio and adieu are the worst starting words, Isabella.
Sunshine Katie says index.
Gaga Grumps says agree with it.
Grump says wipeout incoming.
Gaga Grumps says wipeouts in the chat.
Sunshine Katie says grass.
Gaga Grumps says first wipeout of the day and with the new stickers.
Benjamin is in the house. Sunshine Katie says frame.
Gaga Grumps says Katie. Gaga Grumps says frame fits. Gaga Grumps says Green E moved into number 5 Wordle Street A needs a home.
Steph says awoke.
Steph says no DM.
Gaga Grumps says no O.
Steph says retreat. Haha.
Gaga Grumps says can't be flame.
Grump says paste.
Gaga Grumps says paste works.
Summer says I would have laughed if it was haste.
Gaga Grumps says no change 10 letters wiped from the game.
Summer says just BC it was Grumps that said it wick.
Gaga Grumps says dance is a good shout. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Wordle with Gaga. Wordle with Gaga. Will the fireworks fly?
Good game.
A random star chosen by fate. Play a
Creative One says what's your streak?
Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says easy the daily Wordle. I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results.
Summer says I hope he didn't see that comment.
Pink Speedo BDR says yeah.
Gaga Grumps says I doesn't show a streak.
Grumps says it's summer picking on me again. Typical.
Summer says at Grumps.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Summer says at Grumps, it's so fun.
Gaga Grumps says lol summer.
Grumps says at summer hardly anything escapes the all-seeing watchful eye.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle.
Summer says at Grumps.
Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. L. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon, tap and don't stop, like a thon, who will be crowned like a thon, gremlin renowned like a thon, fingers on fire.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list. Pink Speedo BBR says hi. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with L, please Grumps.
Summer says 60 out of 607.
Shelby says it said I sent for 188, but isn't showing on the board.
Grumps says lanky.
Gaga Grumps says lanky you got.
Pink Speedo BDR says at Grumps Grumble, I got the crown lol.
Shelby says, but it's okay and more than happy with other people picking. Steph says at Ryan best.
Shelby says Polka.
Pink Speedo BDR says at Shelby I started late.
Grumps says at PINKSPEDOBDR, don't make me hurl a crown at you.
Gaga Grumps says I'd still prefer the list to work properly lol.
Pink Speedo BD says at Grumps haha.
Shelby says at Pink Speedaber, no, that's okay. I'm more than happy with everyone else peeking.
Gaga Grumps says Kay lives at number 4. L and Anita Humph.
Pink Speedo BDR says at Shelby, okay, you'll leave.
If you would join us.
Shelby says at Pink Speedaber, new stay.
Gaga Grumps says Polka is in the grid, but first I have to wiggle butt.
Pink Speedo BDR says by everyone, good luck signing all.
Grumps says at PINKSPEDOBDR, hush you.
Shelby says at Pink Speedaber, why are you leaving? I said I'm more than happy with everyone else picking.
Jay says maybe he's dancing at number.
Cassie says hello.
Pink Speedo BDR says at Shelby, exactly, you don't like me winning. So everyone has a chance, he'll leave.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for the wiggles shy.
Grumps says at Catty, that's a new name. Are you hiding?
Shelby says at Pink Speedaber, I didn't say that. I just mean I'm more than happy with anyone picking.
Chase says celebrating with Corgus.
Gaga Grumps says don't leave me Ryan.
Teddy says at Grumps, no. I was in another regular live and they had someone called Tina and they're confusing us.
Caddy says so I changed it for the week you'll be back to normal next week.
Grumps says that Catty should have named and change.
Gaga Grumps says oh it's confused the Gaga time again lol.
Grumps says at Catty we have some cattiness here, so it might get confusing, too.
Benjamin is in the house.
Pink Speedo BDR says at SHELBI, the room is all yours.
Chase says maybe I should change my name.
Gaga Grumps says Shy and Trina in the house, thanks for doing your daily heart.
Shelby says at Pink Speedaber, my days.
LL Creative 1 says did you press it?
Shelby says at Pink Speed Up, I'm happy with you picking. I don't mind, honestly.
Gaga Grumps says no, I forgot where we were creative. Lol.
Shelby says I got IT.
Jay says nicey.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says who guessed polka.
It's a performance in it. Explode 'em on her
Grumps
face.
says at
She's a happy
PINKSPEDOBDR, are you an
face.
estate agent or why are you giving away my room?
Wordle within 3, so gifts explode with glee. Fireworks for Gaga. Emojis make
Gaga Grumps says fireworks for whoever guessed polka.
face they slappy. Fireworks for Gaga.
Caddy says love the stickers.
Fireworks for Gaga. From a single
Creative one says Shelby.
anything will be okay. If you
Shelby says it have no creative one, yes.
still win the day. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga.
Summer says okay, I'm on.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Grumps says at summer have a good day.
Gaga Grumps says see you tomorrow summer XX. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Summer says it grumps you, TOO.
Chase says creepers from Nieko. Love emojis from Jesse.
Summer says at Gaga and Grumps bye bye X.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says back at you Cubs.
Chase says at Chihuahua hello almost named twin.
Steph says that there's a pinned video on her profile explaining X.
Gaga Grumps says I play the 32 Wordles in one go thingy. Gaga Grumps says I am non-speaking. There is a pinned post on my page explaining. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Thanks for the follow.
Grumps says at Chahaya.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A, W.
Steph says I will get it right one of these days, lol.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Grumps says at K.S no plural in Wordle.
Race to the top like a thon. Tap and don't stop like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned like a thon. Fingers on fire like a thon. Gremlins don't tire like a thon. Hearts beat fly.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list. Gaga Grumps says I am non-speaking. There is a pinned post on my page explaining. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with W, please, shy.
Saren says, Achar, just go lol.
Steph says at K.S guys keep the drama out the chat.
Chase says wings wind beneath my.
Gaga Grumps says no choice in the matter, chai lol. Gaga Grumps says I'm gonna ground you for the plural though.
Nope.
Oscar says plant.
Saren says never.
Will Creative One says nutty.
Gaga Grumps says yellow N in need of a homf.
Chase says, but wings come as a pair, isn't that a exception?
Gaga Grumps says plant fits. Gaga Grumps says good point. Gaga Grumps says N lives in number 4 Wordle Street.
Catty says drone.
Gaga Grumps says I have been told pairs are an exception. I've never come across it myself though.
Saren says at Debbie Blickens to for Noah.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says drone works. Gaga Grumps says no one was muted for plurals.
Grumps says at selling and trading SAB nobody got muted for plurals. Bullcrap spouting however might.
Gaga Grumps says E moved in next door to N and O and R need homes.
Oscar says born.
Of spam says corn.
Gaga Grumps says born is a shout.
Chase says I would make a comment about not being able to mute me, but that would tempt fate.
Welcome, Gremlins, to the game grotto. Welcome, Gremlins, to the game grotto.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Share us round. Now tap that screen, tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. It's your
Saren says please don't ruin the love for everyone else, guys. Positivity only.
Saren says live not love.
Now tap that screen, tap that screen, yeah,
She says don't ruin the love either.
let's go. Now tap that screen, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. Let's see those team stickers flow.
Good game.
Gaga Grumps says Grumps discovers he can't meet other mods lol.
Now tap that screen.
Shay says, ha.
Now tap that screen.
Grumps says at Jimmy Hale.
Now tap that screen.
Jimmy says at Grumps Hey.
Gang gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says Jimmy in the house. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. S.
Caddy says at Jimmy.
Jimmy says at Choyo.
Welcome to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Jimmy on the nose.
Grumps says at Max that's 6 letters.
Jimmy says at Gaga and Grumps yes.
Thanks for the follow.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon?
Grumps says at Yard Early Girl Livy. Stop spamming.
Fingers on fire, like a thon.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Jimmy says at your girly girl Livy, you have to wait till after the first word has been.
Grumps says at Yar Girly Girl Livy, win the race or send the sniping crown for first dibs.
Gaga Grumps says yes creative took the crown your word starting with S please creative.
Scaffold Steve says hello Gaga and Grumps, sorry I haven't been on in a couple days.
A creative one says single.
Gaga Grumps says single is 6.
Grumps says at un.omfg too long and it's not your turn.
A creative one says strip.
Gaga Grumps says strip you got. Gaga Grumps says White House in the chat.
Grumps says at Scaffold Steve Plus equals the punk on the shower effect as well.
Jimmy says young.
Scaffold Stiff says at Grumps I have a good excuse though.
Will Creative One says I'm to forward to today.
Catty says laugh.
Saren says it, James, grow up.
Grumps says at Scaffold Steve Plus equals I'll be the judge of that. Jimmy says young.
Jimmy says young.
What creative one says flake?
Gaga Grumps says young works.
Scaffold Stiff says at Grumps my hot water heater fell through my floor. So I've been rebuilding my bathroom.
Gaga Grumps says oh and you moved into 2 and 3.
Grumps says at Scaffold Steve Plus equals how the frack does that happen?
Saren says really someone spoiled today's Wordle.
Catty says could.
Jimmy says at Sarah no G.
A creative one says tough.
Hello creative one says cough.
Jimmy says could.
Grumps says it where?
Scaffold Steve says that Grumps water damage rotted the fall. I had to completely rebuild subfall.
Gaga Grumps says good works.
Saren says at Grumps, I think they got muted. Scaffold Stiff says at Grumps, all the floor joists rotted away too.
Catty says mold.
Gaga Grumps says we end in old.
Look, Creative One says wood.
Benjamin is in the house.
Gaga Grumps says Spolia equals instant mute. Gaga Grumps says Steve in the house.
Grumps says at Scaffold Steve plus equals Yug. We have some water damage that needs repairing this year.
Gaga Grumps says I see you, Sarah.
Saren says at Sarah, you're not mutes.
Well, Creative One says wood. Scaffold Stiff says at Grumps, it's difficult for me to because I have a back injury and am doing it all myself.
Steph says W or am I think?
Gaga Grumps says mold for first try. Gaga Grumps says would then.
Scaffold Stiff says it. Grumps and actually still not finished. I just needed a break.
Go green.
It's playtime!
Well, Creative One says yes.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat. Gaga Grumps says okay, quick last game.
Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Team Gaga, Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A, D.
Dancing Queen says diary.
Gaga Grumps says that's not how we play Aussie. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Dancing Queen says diary.
don't stop like a thorn. Who will be crowned like a thorn? Gremlin renowned like a thorn. Fingers on fire.
Gaga Grumps says want to steal the starting word. Send the ranking crown and snipe the list.
Hearts be flying like a thorn. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with D, please, Trina.
Catty says depth, please.
Gaga Grumps says depth, you got. Gaga Grumps says wrong stickers lol. Says basin. Gaga Grumps says basin fits.
The creative one says vivid.
Gaga Grumps says damn it. They're in the place the in-spin sticker used to be lol. Gaga Grumps says yellow A and N in need of a home.
Scaffle stiff says anal.
Or creative one says nah.
Oh, creative one says nasal.
Gaga Grumps says a null works.
Dancing Queen says hello.
Catty says clang.
Gaga Grumps says added a homeless L. Gaga Grumps says clang is a shout. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Dancing Queen says hi, Grumps.
Dancing Queen says hi, Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for joining me to play Wordle. I will be back at 4 p.m. UK tomorrow for more Wordle with Gaga.
Creative One says bye.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart, Steve.
Dancing Queen says bye.
Catty says goodbye, Gaga and Grumps. Take care.
Chosen by fate, play your part, it's a live date.
Gaga Grumps says do you do the daily Wordle? I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results.